Wells Fargo. The bank finally has found a new CEO, and Brian Chung joins us for more on this. So, Brian, I guess this gentleman has a lot to clean up at the bank, which was bogged down by scandals, especially in their mortgage business. What do we know?
Absolutely. Well, what we know is that this is a company that has not had a CEO in the permanent role for over 6 months. Keep in mind that Wells Fargo has been riding with its interim CEO, that's been Alan Parker, since the beginning of this year. Keep in mind that Tim Sloan at the beginning of this year was the head of this company. He had already replaced the previous CEO, that was John Stumpf, after congressional hearings that really exposed the issues underlying Wells Fargo, all related to that 2016 revelation that it had been opening up millions of unauthorized credit card and also checking accounts without customers' permission. That tailspun into a number of other scandals related to repossession of service members' cars, improper lending to communities as gauged by regulators under the Community Reinvestment Act. So a number of regulatory issues that ultimately culminated in the Federal Reserve in Janet Yellen's final act as Fed chair, imposing an asset cap on this company. They had never done that before. They said that the consumer abuses warranted a need for the company to really be clamped down on by regulators. And ever since they put that asset cap, the company has not been able to grow. So Charlie Scharf being hired at this company is the big first step for this company to try to engineer that turnaround story. Keep in mind that he does come from Visa. Most recently, he was the CEO of BNY Mellon. But a lot of looming questions because he is going to be based out of New York. If you recall that Wells Fargo is actually based in San Francisco. So kind of some questions about how well he can govern a San Francisco-based company from New York. And he actually has a track record of this. So at Visa, it was a San Francisco-based company, but he actually was living in New York City at the time. He ultimately resigned from Visa after 4 years as the CEO there, claiming that he could not spend the time necessary in San Francisco to run that company. So questions looming now about whether or not he'll have the time with Wells Fargo to do the same.
A very interesting geography question there that brings up for investors, but at least the stock is up better than 4% today. Do you think that's a reflection on investors' faith in him, or the fact that they're just happy they now have somebody permanent in the top position?
Well, probably the latter. I mean, when you consider that this is a company that's really gotten clobbered over the past 3 years, keep in mind, I mean, this is a company that has been facing scandals effectively since 2016. I mean, this is a company among the big 4 U.S. banks that has been really trading at a discount relative to everyone else. When you look at even a 2-year chart, you see that JP Chase has been up by 21%, Bank of America up by 11%, but then Wells Fargo kind of struggling. Actually, they've lost about 8% on their stock over that time period. So you're looking at the big board right now: Bank of America, JP Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley. These are all big banks that have really been doing relatively okay. I mean, the financials have been getting kind of hurt over the course of this year as the Fed has pivoted on its interest rate policy. Again, these companies obviously are very exposed to interest rate changes because of the nature of their business. But Wells Fargo specifically, because of the fundamental issues underlying the company, they've had to put a lot of money into expenses to try to turn around the compliance and also underlying management risks at their company, and that involves a lot of money, which a lot of analysts have said, look, we don't really want to touch this thing with a 6-foot pole because of the amount of money that they've had to burn just because of these compliance issues, so we're just going to put our money somewhere else. But obviously with Charlie Scharf now headed to this company, some investors may be saying, hey, maybe now is a good time to buy back in at that discount.
All right, Brian Chung, thanks so much.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.